Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is June 7th, 2015. We're back on schedule. My name is Eric Peterson. Joining me today from the not-so-sleepy land of England, Mr. Dan Curtis.
Hello.
We've got Jess Clarkson.
Hello.
And super special Metal Gear Solid self-proclaimed expert, Oliver Aguilar.
I've never proclaimed that about myself, but, you know.
Just take it.
Okay,
I feel
thank
you
you.
should have some kind of certificate or something by now.
Yeah.
You'd think I'd write one up for myself, eh?
Are you good with calligraphy?
No, my printing's like comic book writing.
Oh. Well, I feel like that would be suitable for a Metal Gear certificate.
I guess so, eh?
Because I don't think I'd really want some sort of calligraphy style typical thing on the wall about that. It'd have to be some sort of otaku.
Just scrawled out on a burlap sack. or it'd be like that Japanese paint style writing.
Oh, like they do in Okami.
Okay, yeah, also that, yes.
Big swooping letters and
Brush strokes.
geishas. I'm just throwing Japanese words out here now.
Ryo Shushu.
You sound like you know what you're talking about completely.
It doesn't. Yeah, I have no idea. Dan's probably the most Japanese
We've been through this. I learned no Japanese for my trip.
cultured person. Yeah, you learned Ryo Shushu.
Ryo Shushu.
Oh.
At least get it right.
Doesn't that mean I have to
does
take a
that mean?
poop?
Wasn't that the
Yeah,
receipt
that's
thing?
exactly what it means. It means anything you
that's
want it to mean. Just wander around the streets of Japan shouting Ryo Shushu.
So you don't actually know what it means.
It means receipt.
Oh.
Because work specifically told me I had to get receipts for my trip. So I just said Ryo Shushu all the time. As you do.
That's funny.
So what am I doing here, you guys? Like, why did you guys capture me and wake me up at an ungodly hour?
Yeah, you'd think that I've been used to waking up at 5 a.m. since my work schedule
That's
changed.
so disgusting.
My first week of summer schedule was a couple weeks ago, and I got to work, and I just sat down at my desk, and I usually hop on and spend the first hour or three talking to Dan, and I'm sitting there eating McDonald's pancakes and just contemplating what the hell is going wrong with my life at 5:15 in the morning. But thankfully, I don't have that job.
Simultaneously then running off for a shit after having McDonald's because it destroyed his bowels.
That was that was quite a lengthy conversation of that. But
That's like how he started one of the conversations one day. It's just like,
that
the toilet's going to regret this McDonald's breakfast.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I don't have that job anymore, so.
Yeah, you've got a new job. Well done, you.
Onward and upward tomorrow.
I read that Facebook update. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you, sir. I remember we had a long, drawn-out conversation about that on the podcast about a year ago. And I think who was the only one that told me to actually take it? Kevin, probably.
I think it was Kevin. I remember that conversation. This was the first time you got offered it, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a thing where you wanted to do it, and it was kind of a risk. And at that point, I think Ellie was just born, so I was erring on the side of caution. You have a sure thing, or something to that effect. I have no idea.
Now I'm gonna go just reckless abandon. I don't need money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there you go.
That starts tomorrow.
Ellie doesn't need a proper education.
Not at all. But
Well, Eric didn't get one, so...
Hey, Dan, what's the importance of 1776?
America was born.
Yes. I always try to throw that into conversation whenever I can with him. He's like, what's that? It's just, I have to remind him.
It's so lost on me because I don't have a clue.
I have to remind him at every possible opportunity that we're better than they are.
Jeez.
Except it doesn't work because I don't actually know what that is. So,
What do they teach you in school over there?
how not to brush your teeth.
Oh,
That's it, really.
sounds about right. When to have first, second, and third breakfast.
Yeah. and how to stick your pinky out when you have tea.
Oh, nice.
That's important.
It is.
Speaking of sticking my pinky out, I played in a really expensive golf tournament on Friday. And I was trying to, in Dan's favor, I was trying to get a good shot of me swinging with my pinky sticking out, and it didn't work. Because I told him I'd got to get my posh on.
I'm surprised you didn't, like, break your fingers or something.
It doesn't work. So
just go for the
feel
swing,
like
and
you
your little
could.
finger just flies off.
you really
Yeah.
can't. They provide some support.
No, like swing with your pinky out. Like that would be totally easy to do, I think.
Are you a golfer, Jess?
I golf /
Mini golf does
Drink?
not count.
what?
Mini golf, goofy golf, putt. What do you guys call it up there?
Mini golf.
Miniature golf.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do you guys call it crazy? Do you have crazy golf?
It's probably the
Goofy
same
golf?
thing, where like you hit into windmills and down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called crazy golf over here.
Really?
Yeah,
Crazy golf, really.
yeah. And me and my friend once decided to play a crazy golf, where you just basically whack it like it's a normal golf game, and see if you can get it from one hole into another hole across the way. that was quite a fun time.
Or mini putt. We
We
call
were
it
asked
mini
never
putt,
to
too.
return again.
We used to do, when I was in high school, before I actually started golfing, we would play urban golf. And we had a buddy whose dad just had a bunch of golf clubs in his garage. So we would all grab a few, and we would just go down the alleys and pull crap out of people's garbage and hit it with golf clubs and just make a colossal mess.
Fucking hooligan.
I just killed
You were a little rebel, weren't you? Jesus.
And that
You guys were
branched...
playing golf, and everybody else is like, these fucking hooligans.
Yeah, Eric, that's not golf, that's vandalism.
No, it's out of their garbage. I suppose in hindsight that is pretty obnoxious. But then it graduated
And after
into...
throwing the garbage around, we went and threw our golf clubs through people's windows.
We graduated to going to the grocery store, and we would each spend like $10 and just get a bunch of food, like little yogurt cups and juice packs, and we'd go into the
Oh
alley.
my
And
god!
we called it urban golf. There was one time in particular. You guys know what
It's like
alleys
the time
are,
we
right?
got arrested.
No.
I know what an alley is,
Okay,
yes.
so the blocks were set up with houses on either side, and then an alley would run down the middle. It was just like where people go and drive into their garage. But my mom came home from work one day, and she was never really too shocked at what she saw. I mean, she'd come home to penis cookies and just weird stuff all the time. But this whole alley was just littered with food, just like lettuce and tomatoes and potatoes and yogurt and just a bunch of dudes sitting there with golf clubs.
Oh, I would have killed you.
It was a good time.
Eric, your life just is so mad. It's just like, can you remember? I always remember you told me that story about that
That
guy. You basically you changed his picture in his house all the time or something.
I need to send this to you guys so you actually see this picture so you can see how ridiculous this is. I'm going to drop this in the chat quick.
He was basically doing it to annoy this guy's mother, and it was
So
just brilliant.
I don't think I shared this on the podcast, but growing up, one of my best friends, we used to play pranks on his mom all the time. And we were in the school library one day, and we found this guy's picture. And it was in a book. No idea who it was. My grandpa had worked at that school for like 40 some odd years. We took it to him. He had never seen the guy before. So we decided to start using this picture to play pranks on his mom. And it started with, we just took this picture and we placed it on top of her toilet seat in her bathroom. And then it graduated. She had this big A-frame in her bedroom. So we took an 8x10 of it and we got on this huge ladder and climbed up there and we taped it to the top corner of the A-frame. So when she'd wake up, that'd be the first thing that she'd see in the morning. We took it graduated to, we had pictures of it in her gas cap. I mean, that was like a week-long dedication to the joke. We got a call about that later. One day we made her breakfast and we put it in a Ziploc bag and stuck it under her pancakes and covered them in syrup. So she's cutting through and she gets down to this guy's face. She's like, "Oh, God damn it, guys." But she had a bunch of senior pictures of my friend around the house, and we swapped. She was on vacation. We swapped every picture in her house with this guy's picture. So when she came home, that's all she saw. It's just good fun.
I bet she absolutely hated you.
Our plan this year is to get her a full not cutlery, but like dining set with this guy's face on the plates and the mugs, and we're going to get her a throw blanket with this guy's face.
You should get a cardboard cutout of him.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Because then you could like
Eric,
hide
I think
it in
this
her
poor
closet
woman's going to
and
end up
stuff.
in like a mental institute or something. She'll be sat in a corner rocking, just going, I can see his face. It's everywhere.
Well, if only we knew who it was.
That's funny.
I
That
don't
is-
even think you could do like a reverse Google search or anything for it.
I was
because-
thinking that too, but
Probably could, couldn't you?
But it's so old, right?
yeah, we found this actual picture in a book from the 70s.
Oh. That could have been digitized and put
Gotta
up. Like
exist
if you...
somewhere.
Yeah, it's not coming
gotta
up on
exist
Google.
somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. But that picture's great. That's just we went through a whole series where we took famous pictures from history and photoshopped that guy's head into it. Like the Muhammad Ali picture, he's the guy in the back taking the picture, and just the JFK
beautiful.
assassination, and just pretty much
Forrest
anything
Gumping that
inappropriate. So I think Oliver at one point asked what he's doing here.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was at least 4 days ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We're talking about Metal Gear, and I want to take a minute to commend all of us for getting back the day that we said we'd come back.
yeah.
Right?
We've been really good about, like, being good.
You've been really good about being...
Dan, it's still 8:20 in the morning. I've been up for less than an hour. Not all of us have had the pleasure of an entire day to get our brain cells working.
Yeah, like literally the first thing I said to or the words I said to Eric first thing this morning were the first words I've uttered today.
Yeah.
Like my throat isn't like ready yet.
We're
so-
not warmed up.
Well, this is good conversation to warm up. I mean, like
Yeah.
bald head mustache guy. That's good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your hooliganism.
It's not hooliganism. It's good, solid
really- it
Midwestern
really
fun.
is.
It was totally vandalism. Like the poor garbage people having to pick it up.
Yeah.
No, I doubt they picked it up.
It's not as... I suppose it's...
Probably still there to this day.
There were two other instances. We used to play potato baseball,
Jesus.
God's sake.
where we would just get 50-pound sacks of potatoes and hit them with baseball bats. But that at least gave the birds something to eat. But do you guys remember back in the 90s when they would send out those AOL online CDs all the time?
Yeah.
We had hundreds of them. So we decided to play AOL CD baseball, and that made a colossal mess because we were doing it during the winter, and it was snowing, and our 13-year-old mindset was the snow covered up. It's just out of sight, out of mind. Well, spring came, and the backyard was destroyed.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think everyone had like 1,010,000 of those CDs.
What else are you going to do with them?
I don't know. Get
Does AOL,
AOL
still
on your
exist?
computer.
AOL does still exist in some fashion. I know my grandma still has her AOL mail account.
Because back on when we were on dial-up internet, everybody over here had AOL.
Yeah, if
Then
you
it
didn't
kind of
have
just-
AOL
kind of
Instant
just vanished.
Messenger, you weren't cool.
It was MSN for me.
You were one of those hippies.
I had
There was
ICQ.
an early
I know,
hipster.
ICQ.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's even worse.
No way.
It was ICQ, then it went to MSN.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you're the odd one out, Eric.
Fine.
I never actually used AOL. Like, it was like super prolific at that time, but I just never used it.
Oh.
You didn't have to count your minutes.
No,
Was it as popular in Canada, though?
not really.
Because I don't remember people actually using AOL.
Yeah, it might have been just an American thing. Was it prolific in Europe? Dan?
It was very big in England, but then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
Like, the discs were super popular, but none of my friends, I think, actually had AOL.
What was AOL? Was
Mr.
that just
Mr.
like
Kevin Byers on the chat?
Oh, hi, Kevin. AOL was It was basically...
Wasn't it an internet service provider?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think back of what our service provider was back then.
Yeah, no,
like,
I can't think of that, though. Because I don't think Rogers was providing internet at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. Because
It might have been Bell.
It was a thing where my parents sort of handled it, and I was like a kid, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm on the internet. I don't care how this is happening. It's just happening. Whatever.
Dial-up.
I actually just went through and listened. I found a video online of the dial-up song, or the dial-up sound.
The dial-up song.
Well, because somebody I know had posted a video of, like, this is how you dance to trap music, and, like, is there any sound in the world worse than trap music? And then it dawned on me, the dial-up sound. So I had to listen to it. Like, I'd actually rather listen to the dial-up sound than trap music.
What is trap music? Like TRAP?
Yes. It is just basically a collection of screeches and grinding, and go into an auto mechanic shop and put a beat down, and that's trap music. It's just
Put a beat down in an auto shop.
Yeah, with like metal grinding and ratchets, and it's obnoxious. Don't listen to it.
That sounds like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But
Trap music, did you say?
Yes, trap.
isn't it like dubsteppy though?
Yeah, and have you ever listened to good dubstep?
I don't mind it for like when I'm doing stuff and it's background. Like I need to write a bunch of things, I'll play it because it's more like energetic, I think.
Are you serious?
But I don't like actively search out for it or be like, oh yes, this person is the best person in the world.
Skrillex.
Yeah.
I only don't mind it when it's like on a good like video game trailer.
Well,
Yeah.
that's okay.
So
Like when they did
trailer released for the last 10 years.
Borderlands 2.
Essentially.
Borderlands
But
2
then,
is the
like,
only one I could really stand.
Dubstep is like the worst, I feel. And I don't know how like people listen to it nowadays. Like different strokes for everybody, but it's not my stroke, that's for sure.
Yeah. Maybe it's just that generational gap, and me making that comment was like just verification
Get off
that,
my
yes,
lawn.
I'm old.
Yeah.
Get off my
it's
digital lawn.
an old man conversation.
I actually played a game that's called Get Off My Lawn, and you shoot, maybe it's zombies, I think, from your lawn.
I thought you were going to say kids. I'm like, what the hell is this?
That would be hilarious.
Do you have, like, stereotypical phrases you can shout? Like,
I can't remember. My friend
Scat.
made it, so I played it.
you rapscallions,
It's on Steam.
Catch you, kids.
you damn hooligans. You,
Stop.
You would know, Eric.
you and your MTVs.
Stop batting my garbage out of my trash cans.
I gotta pick it up again.
Those potato pieces are going to attract the birds.
Heck yeah.
Stop attacking my AOL CDs, goddammit.
I need those for my internet.
You guys are just jealous. You didn't have a sweet childhood.
No, we didn't have a criminal childhood. There's a difference.
I need those for my internet.
You
Dear.
guys are just jealous. You didn't have a... man.
Eric, you have the most random stories. You really do.
I try. I really do try. But we should probably get around to some games.
Yeah.
Because it has been 2 weeks. I had every intention of taking a gaming system with me when we went back to Wisconsin. And I did. And I got next to nothing done. Because traveling with a 15-month-old is like herding cats. It's just all over the place. We were running all over the airport terminal. And that's usually where I play most of my games. Because you get there 2 hours early. And no. So...
I don't get it. Did you guys like let her loose or what?
Have you ever? Yeah, we just let her go.
Because I mean, like, don't you just like stuff her in her stroller and like she's
Have you
sort of confined to her stroller?
You don't have kids, so it's
No, I really don't. And I mean, like, this is the conversation I have with parents with my super logic, and they're like, no, you don't have kids logic.
well.
But I feel like
I think
Ellie's
that's
not
just-
running amok in a airport, is she?
Well, not alone. the logic we have.
She's with a stranger.
Yeah. Well, we found
she's
some.
gathering up other kids and being like, "Hey,
Lord of the
Daddy's
Flies
told me about this game where we bat trash out of a garbage can."
Who's got golf clubs?
Yeah.
No, you
Sorry,
don't.
Eric.
You don't just take a kid who wants to explore the world and just cram them into a stroller or a car seat, because then what you have is a nuclear meltdown waiting to happen. Because they start to squirm and then they fuss, and you can only sate children with food for so long before they either don't want to eat or get really fat. And shut up, Dan. I know there's an American fat joke coming. But no, we just our logic was, let's let her run around, and then she'll be tired for when she gets on the plane and she'll fall asleep, because last thing I want is to be that family on the plane with the screaming child. And we know
You're that family with the screaming child.
No, we
at the
weren't.
In the
airport.
terminal.
No, Ellie, she never once screamed, never once fussed. She was just running around saying hi to people and riding the escalators and just having a good old time.
Tell everybody what you managed to get to say, Eric.
Oh, in honor of Dan, we are trying to teach Ellie some British phrases, and she's at the point now where she can say hi and thank you and love you and up and all gone. Like she understands what she's saying. So one night after chit-chatting with Dan for a few minutes, like, you know what? I'm going to try to teach her pip pip. So for about 2 hours, I'm sitting there working with her on pip pip, and she finally said it, and it was just the crowning achievement of my vacation.
Teach her how to say fancy a shag, governor.
That'll be coming.
Yeah, don't, really don't.
Yeah, you
that would be wrong.
probably shouldn't.
I understand what it means. I'm not that
Probably
dense.
shouldn't.
So, yeah, it was a good
Do it
time.
anyway.
But did you guys do anything fun over your 2 weeks off?
I bought a cat stroller.
Wait,
What?
we need to go down this avenue.
What?
Yes. It
So
happened.
so that your cats don't run amok in the airport terminal.
Yeah. Because I'm a responsible cat parent.
Are you the type of person who takes your cats on the airplane?
No, we haven't needed to. But like if I was moving, I would. Because they would come with me.
There are very strict rules. Like, you have to have them super drugged up and everything.
No, you're not supposed to drug them up. Because then they get even more like intense. Apparently, usually they're okay as long as you like give them food and water and keep them
The
warm.
worst is when people bring those damn chihuahuas on the plane.
I have never been on a plane with an animal before, I don't think.
It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I feel like
let's
it could be.
let's talk about this, because you commemorated your cat with a paw tattoo.
With a nose tattoo.
Oh, yes. So, cat stroller, how does this work?
I've got it. Wait, go back to that tattoo thing. I've got to ask: Did you get the nose tattoo on you, or did you put the nose tattoo on your cat?
I put it on me.
Because her cat
Oh.
died.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Oh no, it was 2 years ago now.
Oh god,
But
I've just
I have
googled
two
cat
new
strollers.
cats.
My god.
And the one does not love the cat stroller as much as I thought she would. But there are pictures that Andrew tagged me on Facebook if you would like to see this cat stroller. Because it is pretty
I need to see this, because I'm picturing it like a normal baby stroller where you sit the cat in and they're sitting down and leaning back and you like buckle them in.
That's exactly what it is.
you give them the juice box, and they're content for
Yeah.
like 10 minutes.
It actually started as a joke because I found one at Walmart for $20 and I was like, okay, let's get it. And it doubles as a cat carrier, so it was totally worth the $20 for a cat carrier. But
Hang on,
it
somebody's
was
posted a thing about a hoodie on your Facebook.
Yeah, I saw that
Put
too.
your cat in it.
A
Oh.
kangaroo pouch cat hoodie.
probably.
I'm
I'd
actually in
love
the
to see somebody try
process.
to put a cat in that.
I'm in the process of wanting to get rid of my cats, and there are people out there who are developing clothing to keep their cats closer. I don't get it.
Oh, you poor cats.
You want them? I'll ship them. Free.
No, it's good. I'm good, thanks. Not allowed pets.
You're mean with your one cat.
He sucks.
I feel the
Fair
love.
enough.
So I don't see a picture of this cat stroller. I need to see it.
Yeah, I realized it was not. It's on Instagram. I'll tweet it so then you can see it.
Please do, because I feel like this is something that needs to be seen.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay,
So,
I'm trying to
right, should we get back to Metal Gear?
It has been 34 minutes and we haven't talked about a game yet.
We've mentioned Metal Gear once, but we didn't actually talk about it.
So, yeah. We have invited Mr. Oliver Aguilar on to enlighten us as to the finer workings of Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation.
Well, we've all played it, right?
Yes.
Like,
Jess hasn't.
Jess, why didn't you play it?
I just assumed,
Hey,
sorry.
Eric, you only played it like last year, so whatever.
Yeah, that was for like the 14th time. And that was when I was going through the entire Metal Gear franchise. Canonically?
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 I didn't go chronologically. Chronologically.
You played it like
in order of story.
In order, like, yeah, so release wise,
No,
right?
I did not play release wise.
In order of
So
story.
you played like Peace Walker and stuff first.
Yeah, so I played
And then went on to the newer ones.
I went Peace
The older
Walker
ones,
3, then it went
MGS?
to MGS 2, 4. Well, the PSP
Wow,
one was in there somewhere.
That's confusing.
Yeah.
Peace Walker's after 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went 3 Peace Walker, MGS 2.
And then 5 is after Peace Walker.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in order to complete my
that's
run
confusing.
again, I'm going to need to play through them all again.
It's not really that confusing. It's just how, like, because 3 is the start, the very start of the story. Like 3 is where, like, this one soldier becomes who Big Boss will become, and then through 3, Pete Walker, and then Phantom Pain, we will see how Big Boss becomes like this villain, and then the original NES Metal Gears was the start of Solid Snake's story.
That's right.
And that's sort of like what kicks off Metal Gear Solid.
So the NES one is a really shitty port of the MSX, correct? Or the MSX title's different?
I think the original Metal Gear is the same.
Only in Japan, isn't it?
No,
the same in America and Japan. There's a Metal Gear a Metal Gear 2.
Snake's Revenge.
Snake's Revenge was kind of like a non-sanctioned Metal Gear game.
Okay.
So that I don't think that's
really?
canon. But there is a Metal Gear Solid 2 that was released in Japan. Sorry, Snake's Revenge was released in North America, and that's non-canon. And then Metal Gear Solid 2, the official one, that was only released in Japan, is the actual sequel.
Was it actually called
That makes
Metal Gear
sense?
Solid 2?
I think so.
Because wouldn't that come after
not
Metal
Metal
Gear
Gear,
Solid
Metal
for the
Gear.
PlayStation 1?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't Metal Gear Solid.
It was just
no,
Metal
it was
Gear
just
2.
Metal Gear 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, for anyone uninitiated, it is a very convoluted storyline, and to be honest, it really doesn't matter where you jump in, because you're just going to be as confused as everybody else.
God, man, when I played Metal Gear Solid 2, that one just blew my mind with the storyline.
Had you played the first one?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I played the first one to death, but, like, I just remember getting towards the end, and I was just like, what's going on?
Yeah. And it's so hard to go back and play Metal Gear Solid now, because you understand who Campbell is and what's going on, and it's actually kind of cool to play him a little bit out of order from time to time, because then it makes the game a little bit more fun.
Yeah, it has a lot of depth to it. It really does.
So, Dan, I was talking to you about this, and I actually don't know why I never noticed this before, but the entire setup for this game, Metal Gear Solid... What are you doing, Jess?
Andrew is opening mail right now.
Oh, awesome.
That's the sound of a cat trying to escape from the stroller.
No.
The entire setup for this game's entire plot is once you boot the disc up, there's that opening cutscene even before the title screen. And as a gamer, most of the time it's like, boom, let's just get to the title screen. Go, 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 go. For the first time ever, I think I actually watched that and like, wow, if you skip this, you have no idea what you're doing here or why you're doing it, because they don't explain that at the beginning of the game.
Have you seen this actually in the menu? There's a thing called briefing where it has cutscenes which actually shed some light on the storyline.
Yep.
I didn't know this until like the other day, and I actually watched them. I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like what do you call it before the story? Prologue.
Yeah.
Prologue.
Yeah.
Prologue.
And it's
Prologue.
Prelude. Yeah. It starts off with like, because essentially what happens is that Colonel Campbell sends a team out to capture Snake, so he's kind of forced into this, and it explains it in that like cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like if you just start up the game and just start to play, like you have no idea about this.
And I think that's...
Oliver, I have a serious question about these scenes, though, right? Why is he naked?
Because he's stripped down. They captured him, and essentially, like, Campbell is
Was he, like, in the shower when they captured them or something?
Well, I don't know. They probably...
Well, Naomi explains that later, because they said they did a full strip search on him to make sure that he went out with nothing, and he smuggled his smokes in, presumably through his anus.
No, he says he swallows them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind, in his stomach. Shoot.
He's a champ.
Meryl says that she has more hiding spots than men, so she kept the key cards in her hoo-ha.
Hoo-ha.
Well, there's a lot of inserting of things of places.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a common theme lately on this show.
Oh, not the tampons again.
We're not going 3
And the
shows in a row
turkeys?
with tampons.
No.
Anyway, continue, Oliver.
Well, yeah. If you just jump into the game, like you are not aware of this, right? 'Cause like you said, even like the beginning cutscene where if you let the game sort of run, it explains like why, like, or how even like Snake gets inserted into here. Because if I recall, the game proper starts off with Snake kind of just scuba diving into this basement like loading bay. And that's just how it starts. So I imagine that's like the first thing most people see, because I'm sure they're not aware of this cutscene.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, am I the only person that when you boot up a game, your mind says get to the title screen and you just skip over whatever is there because you assume that it's going to be played once you start a new game?
You're probably not the only person, but I like to let it run to see, like, because sometimes they play like some sort of like CG trailer or whatever, or some sort of like thing that will play automatically. Right? Most games do that.
Yeah.
And so I like to see that, because I remember, I mean, they probably don't do it often anymore, but I remember back in like the PlayStation days, they will show some sort of cutscene or some sort of trailer or whatever.
I'm usually impatient, though.
I am too.
Yeah, I'm particularly terrible with the codex on Metal Gear Solid. After a while, I'm just like...
Oh, see, that's my favorite part.
Really?
I love those.
I liked it on 2, where you could like make Raiden or Snake say things while they were talking. That made it more fun. Can you remember that?
I do.
I don't.
You
Like
don't
if you
remember?
press the shoulder,
Eric,
shoulder
you
buttons.
know nothing about these games. You could like zoom. You could zoom in on the pictures.
Oh,
and
yes,
then like
yes.
you could also agree or disagree with like what they were saying, and Snake would go, "That's bullshit" or something like that.
That was
Those are really
almost
good.
passably American.
That was pretty good.
Thanks.
I'm impressed.
I just need to talk like
Practice.
Snake apparently, and then I can sound American.
So,
Yeah.
So, I actually, playing through this again, I had a little bit of a revelation. I'm pretty sure at some point you and I have talked about this before, Oliver, but you know how Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear stories go. The whole premise of this game is that Foxhound has taken over this former military base to store nuclear weapons.
A nuclear testing facility.
Yes. So you are inserted to capture or to find the DARPA chief and arms tech president Kenneth Baker and then prevent them from launching the nuke. However, within like the first 15 minutes of the game starting, it's referenced multiple times that this is a training exercise. And I vaguely remember at some point us talking about how this is...
You what remember us, sorry?
Vaguely. Vaguely.
Pick up on that.
Vaguely? Shut up, Dan.
Vague. So vague.
I somewhat remember, I cloudily remember us talking about how this was... I don't remember the exact context of the conversation, but like this was not a conspiracy, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say with that. I can't formulate the sentence.
I sort of know what you're trying to say, and I think you're getting it confused with Metal Gear Solid 2. Because in Metal Gear Solid 2, which was just muddy as shit, like it goes from like this terrorist attack on this environmental cleaning facility to some sort of weird simulation.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. This whole thing is just a VR simulation.
Yeah, that's the premise. Well, not the premise. That's kind of like an idea that they put into 2. But like I said, it's muddy as shit. But
the idea behind 2 is that Raiden is going through the same experience that Snake went through at Shadow Moses. Mm-hmm. It's called the S3 project or something. But then there's another plot twist. The S3 simulation isn't the Solid Snake thing. It's something else entirely. And then all the stuff with the Patriots comes in, and your brain just dies.
Yeah, it gets weird and tough to wrap your head around at that point.
Then Roy Campbell starts calling you and telling you to switch off your PlayStation, and you're like, okay, what's going on? That really freaked me out the first time I was playing it. It's like, why is the game telling me to switch it off? It's just really odd.
So on the surface of Metal Gear, because it was... When did this come out? 98?
98.
Okay. At this point, there was nothing really done in the world of video games like this. Like, it was very much so choreographed and voice acted and like directed as if to be like super cinematic. And a lot of people like attribute this game to like pioneering that sort of that kind of style in video games. Mm-hmm. But I felt like on the surface of Metal Gear, like it wasn't completely crazy at this point. It was just kind of like this stealth action game where you're a lone soldier infiltrating this this thing to try to save the world, essentially. So I don't think that they had any sort of like underlying conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. As far as like the second one, even the third one and fourth one go. So, I mean, a lot of theories have gone back to this game and like referenced some things that have happened to loop it in with everything else. But I've always had the idea that Kojima really didn't have this huge plan to this overarching story that would span more than 5 games. Yeah. I feel like he was kind of just writing this by the seat of his pants and sort of just being like, okay, well, remember these characters from 2? Well, in 3, they're going to be these characters to just kind of loop it in. I don't know. That's sort of what Matt and I think, because we played them like exhaustively.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think he had this whole grand plan?
I think in some facet he did, but I always got the impression that he, like you said, was just writing this by the seat of his pants and just going as he went. And I think that's actually the beauty of it, is that he left it so undefined that he could have that freedom to do whatever he wanted with the story down the road, and everyone could just come back and be like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. No matter how crazy it gets, like the whole thing with Roy Campbell at the end of 2 to find out that he's just a computer, and you look back at Metal Gear 1 and you're like, I guess that's okay. I mean, Snake never really had any physical interaction with him.
That's Raiden at that point anyway, so...
Yeah, and you don't... I mean, all of your interactions have been through this codex, so you don't really...
No, he meets him in the briefing before Metal Gear.
Well, yeah, Eric, I think you're kind of off base with that, in that, like, in 2, he reveals himself to be some sort of
AI,
some
right?
sort of
But
AI.
that's not really Roy Campbell. That's just the AI pretending to be Roy Campbell. Roy Campbell
yeah.
in the first
Okay.
one is Roy Campbell.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
The story
in
from
second
2,
one,
like you
just
said,
the
Dan,
AI's being
just...
placed to replicate Roy Campbell.
The story from
Yeah.
2 just is way, way too convoluted. That one...
I'm impressed that he's managed to bring it back from 2, though, because 2 was so... It was a great game, but like the storyline just really went mad.
yeah.
So to bring it back in 3 and 4 and 5, it's pretty impressive. But serious misstep on that one, I think.
With 1 in particular, though, I think going back to what Oliver said a little bit ago about how nothing like this had really ever been done in gaming before, I think this game really laid the foundation for cinematic games, because if you look at it, there really isn't a lot to this game. If you were to cut out all the codecs, all the cutscenes, and just ran through it, you could probably be done with it in, under 5 hours?
Yeah, they're like... I think this is a thing where if you... Yeah, I think you get like a big boss ranking. Like, to get the big boss ranking at the very end of the game, you have to like run through it in like a certain time limit, and that's, I think, is under like 5 hours.
And it's not that hard, because I've been playing through it just over the past week, and I would say I'm a little over halfway. I'm at the Sniper Wolf part, which is almost to the end of Disc 1, and then Disc 2 is basically the end of the game. And I'm just over 3 hours. And that's watching
Eric,
every cutscene and listening to everything.
can I ask you, are you actually playing it on a PlayStation?
I'm playing my PS1 disc in my PS3.
Oh, I see. You are truly retro.
I thought about busting out the old PlayStation, the PS1, the small one with the flip-up LCD screen that I have. But
oh, man.
And I've got a car charger, so I could go portable with it.
Because I just downloaded the digital version. I was playing it on my PS3.
I wanted to, but for some reason that game doesn't work on Vita, and I guess I can see why it wouldn't, because the L2 button and R2 button are pretty important.
Have you Final Fantasy VIII, Eric? You know, when you're playing that, does that work on your PS3? Because you got the disc, right?
Yeah.
In Europe, it doesn't.
Huh.
The disc version doesn't work, so I had to actually pay for it and download it, and I don't know why.
Diddums.
I know. I wasn't pleased, but everything else works apart from Final Fantasy VIII. I don't get why.
So, you were mentioning that this game is pretty bare bones without all the.
It is. It's very. It's very basic, but the meat of it really comes in with the story. But the downside is that it's super hard to follow and understand. But for people like you, Oliver, obviously, that leaves a lot of room for just really diving into this game as much as you want, because it's not what you see is what you get. You can take as much out of this game as you want, and apparently, from what I'm learning, there's a hell of a lot more to it than I've really already seen with little hidden Easter eggs and stuff like that. But
Oliver, he didn't even know that the bit with Sniper Wolf.
Yeah.
He didn't even know that you could go in the cardboard box and get the wolves to basically piss on you, so the masks your scent.
Yeah, so that they don't bother.
Excuse me for shooting the dogs as soon as I see them. They are enemies.
No!
the lore of Solid Snake is that he's after retiring after Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, he moved to Alaska and became a dog musher.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't do that in real
Well,
life.
excuse me, you don't learn... Oh, wait, no, you do learn that he's a dog musher right before Meryl runs away.
Yes, you do.
My snake is bipolar.
I bet he did urban golfing too.
Hell yeah. With guns. Urban shooting.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I think
there's cool little things like that, like that cardboard box thing, Dan, that you mentioned, that not many people know, but is like cool, and like for the developer to put in and like even like think about, and like it passed, like some guy had this idea, and I'm sure it went through all the levels up to Kojima, and like Hideo Kojima's like, you know what, that's a fucking good idea. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, his games, I imagine he's the one with the idea, so which is why it made into the game. But
I want this.
His games are wrought with like that type of stuff.
I just remember sitting and playing this game when I was a kid. My sister and I used to play a lot of games together, and like the cardboard box, for some reason, just we still crack jokes about that. Like, it's a box, and just stealth games up to this point, like Tenchu, had consisted of mostly just sneaking around, hiding behind corners, and for them to add in a feature like a cardboard box, and then the enemies will come and they'll look at you, and that progressed, and it just became a thing in the series where it's just this iconic staple of a stealth game that's just so goofy, but the way that they did it in the first game was so awesome. Like learning that if you climb into the back of the truck in the nuclear storage bay, it'll take you back to the first building.
Yeah, that's cool.
That actually depends on which box you're wearing too, eh? Because all of them are labeled.
Yeah. And it'll send you. Where do the other boxes take you?
I don't know. Like one is to the helicopter pad. Yeah. And
you can actually do the same on 2 as well. You can get in the conveyor belt in the package room.
Yeah.
Depending on what box you're in, it'll take you to different parts of the plant.
So it's essentially fast travel, which...
Instead of just having a mini-map where you click on it and go there, it's just really ingenious things that make this game so much fun. Did
you know about the Easter egg when you go through the vents and you have to look at Meryl?
Yeah.
Do you know about that
one?
Yeah.
I don't ever remember how to trigger it, though.
You have to keep going in and out, I think. And then different things happen each time you do it. Like she's doing different exercises, and then gradually, for some reason, she's in her underwear doing the exercises.
And then in the next big cutscene, she's in her underwear.
Yeah, she is, I think.
I remember that one.
So I think the one thing that I really enjoy the most about this game, and I guess it's the meat of the game, are the boss battles. And
yeah, the boss battles are always great on Metal Gear.
There's really not a whole lot between them. And this game, I noticed it more so than the other ones. It's like, it's just bam, boss battle after boss battle after boss battle. And there's only like 15 minutes between them. I mean, you're thrown right into the game, and you've got who's the first one? It's not Revolver, is it?
The tank isn't?
No.
I think it is Revolver.
Revolver. Yeah, it's when you...
I thought there was one before that.
He's rigged up...
The C4 on Kenneth Baker. Is that the first boss battle, though?
I think it is. So.
I thought there was one before that.
I don't think there is at all.
Yeah, because you go through and you go through that. You have to blow the hole in the wall,
yep.
And then you go in, and then you see them all rigged up with C4. So like if you attempt to touch them or whatever, it'll blow the whole thing and it'll be game over. And you're it's kind of a cat and mouse with Ocelot. Mm-hmm. Around this structure, so you kind of have to run around and shoot him. I think that is the first one.
Okay. Well,
but it's unique in that, like, yeah, if you go for the hostage, it'll blow the C4. And
well, you're thrown into like Ocelot, and then you've got the tank, and then you've got Cyborg Ninja, then you've got Psycho Mantis, and then just it keeps going, and it's just bam, 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 battle after battle after battle, and I think this game still, throughout all of boss battles in every video game I've ever played, Psycho Mantis is still one of the coolest boss battles I've ever played.
Well, that one is definitely like that one is definitely hailed as like the most original and one of the most unique boss battles ever, and it really is. Like nothing's ever done that before. Nothing really has done that after.
And if you look at it from a technical perspective now, it's like, yeah, I guess I see how they did that, but like you said back then, it was just like, what the fuck is going on?
It also played into like the character too, right? With him being able to read your mind.
Yeah,
and
it was one of the first
know when you're gonna
games
shoot.
to break down that fourth wall.
Yeah,
Because I was playing it, and I told Christy about it. I said, Christy, you got to watch this this boss battle. And as he's going through, he's like, let me read deeper into. Like he starts off just talking about, oh, you're a warrior, and it picks up on certain games that you've played, and then he's like, oh, you still don't believe me? Let me delve even further. And he's like, you're a fan of Suikoden, and Chris is like, you were just playing that. How does he know that? And it's little things like that. If you didn't know that was coming, it's just mind blowing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then he starts moving your controller as well.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have the rumble feature, that was totally lost on you.
Does it do it even if it has?
At that point, the DualShock had just come out. So maybe not everybody had it.
Yeah.
When I originally had the PlayStation, I had the one without the analog stick, so maybe.
Yeah. Jess, did you make it to that boss battle?
No, but I really want to now.
Oh, now we just ruined it.
Yeah.
They
No,
actually bring it
will
back
still be
full
freaked
circle
out.
in 4 as well with, what's it called, Screaming Mantis.
Screaming Mantis, yeah.
And there's actually a section where Psycho Mantis appears behind her and he tries to read your memory card again, but because now we've got hard drives instead of memory cards, he can't access it, and it makes him freak out.
Probably the coolest part, though,
so
too,
cool.
is that they force you to put the controller into the second slot. I remember playing this for the first time, like, what the hell is going? Like, he predicts everything I'm doing. I can't beat him. I think technically you can beat him. It just takes a really, really, really long time and a lot of luck. But I think after you die for the second or third time to him, Roy Campbell pops on. He's like, you got to use the other controller board.
He won't be able to read you. Yeah. And even if you like keep contacting Campbell, he'll eventually mention that. But again, like it was this moment in gaming where it was like, holy, he's talking directly to me about doing shit like outside of the game. And they do it a few times. I don't know if you guys recall, but there's this one conversation where they mentioned that Meryl's radio frequency was on the back of the box.
Oh, God.
And a lot of people were like, what box are we talking about? And
I spent ages looking for that in my items.
Yeah,
I was
so
like, there's nothing there!
So what he's referring to is the actual physical CD box.
So if you didn't have that, you were screwed.
Yeah, and like I imagine that was like game breaking for a lot of people.
Well,
especially if
you wanted to, you could just click through every frequency. And I'm assuming that's what a lot of people would have to do.
That would have turned me completely off. Like, why would they make me do this?
And this was kind of in the age before internet walkthroughs. I mean, the internet was around, but
yeah,
it wasn't just
Going
open
back
up
to
Google
AOL.
and type it in, because Google was still 7 years away. So
I can't even remember how I figured it out in the end. I think I must have just looked on the back of the box and went, oh.
don't they actually say the back of the CD case?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
it's the back
sounds,
of the CD
that's,
case.
it just sounds like, especially when you're a child, like it's just going to be in the game. Like you're just looking for a CD case. And you're,
Well, there
it's
is
like,
an item that you have that's just called disc. So
yeah, so I thought it was that. And I was like, and then it just clicks, and then you're just like, oh no. It's terrible. It's so terrible.
Oliver,
Honest, but going back to the boss battles, what were all your favourites out of them? What was
I think
your
that's an
favourite
easy
one?
choice.
it would have had to been the Psycho Mantis one.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I like the final fight against Metal Gear X.
Oh yeah.
And then the big fist fight with Liquid after that. I just think that's so cool.
I thought it was really cool how they did a harken back to that at the end of 4.
Four.
That's what it was, where you're out there in the middle of the ocean on top of Rex fighting.
I gained a lot of like appreciation for the original like fist fight when 4 came out because I'm like, yes,
I remember that one being
awesome.
really difficult.
Yeah,
it was so cool
hard.
though. It just brought everything to the big climax, and it was just so awesome. I remember like playing that section, just be like, "This is so cool."
I think aside from Psycho Mantis, I really like the Revolver Ocelot one.
That's good as well. I like the fight against the Hind D as well, with the Stinger missiles.
See, that one, I don't have many memories of that from the PlayStation version because I've played the Twin Snakes version more recently, and that one is completely different.
Really?
You've got all these it's just the whole game plays differently. So this game is like a top-down isometric, and
it's like 2, isn't it?
It's pretty much identical to 2. You can walk behind your character. You can have first-person mode.
Why didn't they release that for anything except GameCube? I would totally buy that right now.
I think they were trying to pimp the GameCube a little bit. And that game's really expensive. Now I remember I found a used copy of it, and I paid $45 for it.
Oh,
wow.
Because I wanted it. It's a fantastic game to have. But
I bought... Oh, no, I was about to say I bought a GameCube just for that, but in reality I bought it for that Resident Evil remake.
Which turned out to really not be that good.
That was awesome, I felt. That Resident Evil remake was, like, gorgeous. And, like, because before Metal Gear, like, Resident Evil was my favorite game. So when they did that, I was like, holy shit, this is exactly how I want my Resident Evil.
Yeah. I'm more of a fan of the original stuff. The tank controls and all.
Right.
Apparently there's rumours that Kojima's actually debating remaking the first one again.
I would be fine with that.
There was...
What's been going down at Konami.
Hold on, what?
What?
Which company?
How do you say it?
Konami.
That's what I said.
It's Konami.
Sorry, Dan. That
I'm
threw me for a loop.
impressed that I didn't fuck up pronunciations for once.
And you give me shit for how I pronounce VAG. Konami. Like that's like a Native American word pronunciation.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was channeling my inner Native American.
It's funny because like my parents speak like broken English, so I'm used to like weird pronunciations, and it generally doesn't like take me aback. But then that one just like took me aback.
Ah, well.
What you were saying was there were rumors of him wanting to remake the original ones.
Yes.
And yeah, I heard I heard rumblings of that, and I was like super excited for it. But yeah, since everything that's been going down has gone down, I'm not terribly certain that that's going to happen. I don't know, Eric.
Yeah.
Does Hideo Kojima own? He doesn't own the Metal Gear.
No, he does not.
Right?
He does not. And this is kind of the same thing that happened with Kenji Inafune when he left Capcom. He wanted to make another Mega Man, but that's a franchise of Capcom. Konami has already, I don't want to say confirmed, but they've already talked about what they're going to do with the Metal Gear franchise, and they want to move it more into a mobile domain. Did you?
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
Oh, no.
And I'm sure you guys have talked a lot about this on Talkin' Reckless, but with Kojima leaving, there's just so many goofy things that happen. Like 75% of the way through production, they removed his name from it, so it's no longer a Hideo Kojima game. And they've taken him down as executive producer, and just there's a lot of shit that's going on. And they're trying to save face, but like he's still the figurehead of this game and this and that and the other thing. But he's essentially just a person that's going to sell the game, and after that, they're done.
I'm hoping though that the final product of 5 ends up being not suffering because of this, because Ground Zero is like as small as it is fantastic. You can tell Phantom Pain is going to be something special.
Oh yeah,
if you play
that's one of my biggest fears with everything that's gone down is that that the Phantom Pain will suffer. because of all this politicking between Hideo Kojima and Konami. But Matt mentioned that like this game is set to come out in September, so I think most everything is probably put into place.
Yeah, they are well past production stage, and they are now into polish and testing.
Yeah, so as far as all that, I think we can rest assured that it won't affect it. But there's just this feeling about like when somebody gets taken off a project, or like has sort of like an end date on a project, and it's not like by his terms. He sort of a guy would sort of just start half-assing it and putting it into like autopilot in the end, because that's what happened to me at the end of my last job. I knew I was done, and it was like a week in advance, and I kind of just tuned out.
That's exactly what I went through this whole last week, and I had so much stuff I needed to get done. It was just really hard to stay motivated because
yeah,
I'm setting the groundwork for stuff that I'm not really going to continue working on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really looking forward to about, I'd say, 20 years from now when we're going to be watching a documentary about what happened at Konami and why did Kojima leave.
I would love to know I would love to know what happened.
Down the road, you'll see it. It's just too much of a hot button thing right now that they're not going to release everything that happened. I mean, look at like that documentary that was just on Netflix about the Atari dig site. That was a huge conspiracy back in the day, and now they know. Like, people are coming out and actually talking about what happened. So give it time. We'll know. It just sucks that we, the consumers, are going to potentially suffer as a result.
Yeah.
But
hopefully it'll be the last game that they do that's good before they go into mobile. So
I could go for...
That's just a curse word.
The only mobile game that I could see actually doing well in the Metal Gear franchise would be some sort of VR missions.
Nah, still.
I hope not.
Well,
I loved Metal Gear Solid VR missions.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
If Konami does like still stay in games in some sort of respect, and I know they sort of mentioned like focusing on mobile, but I feel like they'd just be foolish to just abandon Metal Gear, or at least just make Metal Gear into this weird mobile thing. But they also have like Castlevania. And do they have Contra or not? Like that, I know Contra's kind of been dead for a while, but that's something that could get started up.
Well, they still have Silent Hill.
And Silent Hill.
Apparently, and I don't know if what I read about this is off base, but regarding Silent Hills, obviously, yes, that has been canceled. But I was reading an article I can't remember which company purchased Silent Hills from Konami, and it was apparently like 80% production completed. I don't remember where I read that. I'd have to dig that up. But again, I'm not entirely positive about that.
I read a rumor story that like Microsoft was looking for
what it was, Microsoft.
Rights.
But back to your original point about how they would be stupid to let Metal Gear die. Look at Metal Gear Revengeance. That was not a Kojima game. He provided support on it, but it was not a Hideo Kojima game, and it suffered because of that. And
I still really like that one, actually.
I think that look at all of these franchises that have been spearheaded by particular people. Once they start removing those original development teams, the game changes to the point where it's not really what it used to be. It's just a namesake.
This happened with the Batman games as well, because the first two were developed by Rocksteady, and the third one, which is the prequel, was developed by Warner Brothers Montreal. And it's nowhere near the quality of the first two.
No, it really wasn't. And like
the one that's coming out this month is made by Rocksteady again, so
it
should be good.
Because look at the Final Fantasy games. I mean, those really died off once they started to move development teams, and it's just, I don't know. I would honestly be okay with Phantom Pain being the end of Metal Gear, just done. And I know that
4 was meant to be the end, and then he came back for another one.
But it's him doing it.
Yeah.
I don't want them to just milk this franchise because, hey, we're just going to make this game and slap Metal Gear onto it, because nobody's going to be able to create as in-depth characters or as interesting storylines as Kojima and make sure that they all tie together.
Which characters from the series do you think will pop up in Phantom Pain, though? Because I think there's quite a few will show up. I think Psycho Mantis might be in it, which we might have seen him already.
Well, this is a prequel,
trailer.
so he could essentially pull anybody in.
Yeah.
Because when they initially released that teaser trailer, the guy in the fire, help me with his name, Oliver, from Vulcan, they were like, that looks like Vulcan. And so he could be in there as well. And that was an awesome battle from 3.
Yeah. He could be easily in there, and then we could even maybe see Solid and Liquid Snake as kids.
I personally would really like to learn more about Sniper Wolf.
She was interesting.
I like her character.
I think if you like, the storyline for Phantom Pain is he's been in a coma for 9 years. So while he's in the coma, could they have started the Les Enfants Terribles project and made Solid and Liquid Snake while he's out?
I think, the timelines sort of match up for that.
Hey, Jess, does your head hurt yet?
No, I'm actually super interested, and I'm mostly like lurking because I haven't played as many as you guys have, and it's like amazing to hear all the depth and detail that you guys are totally nerding out about.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to it.
It actually is, and I'm kind of holding back because I just don't want to steal like too much mic time.
Dude, do it. Just go full blast. That's what we're here for.
Well, I mean, like, before I start sounding like a crazy person to Jess, like,
you're not.
Did she have any questions up until this point?
No.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Well,
I did some research.
Oliver, if Jess were to go through and play through this, what do you think she should go chronologically or canonically?
I get this question like lots. Like, this is the question that gets asked to me like so many times.
You and I have had lengthy discussions about this.
Yeah, I haven't actually played it chronologically or chronology or whatever. I'm interested to, and I really want to. But I've only really played them like released.
So you've played them chronologically.
Well, which can we differ?
Chronologically is the order in which they were released.
Okay.
Canonically is in order of story.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so I've never played this canonically. I've only played it chronologically by release. So I feel like if Hideo Kojima had this grand plan to be like, okay, well, I'm going to release this game, and then this game, and this game, then I'm going to draw it back to this, and then do this, and then finally do this. I feel like he had this grand plan to like release it in that sort of way, in a way like Quentin Tarantino sort of cuts his movies together. Yeah. Like he'll give you a piece of this, and then kind of dial it back to see what happened beforehand. I don't really know what that technique is called, like in filmmaking.
I think it's just called I need something to do. Oh, this sounds good.
But
sounds like the technical term, yeah.
I feel like if a person were to start this and will keep an open mind as far as like the dated control scheme goes, I feel like 1 would be the place to start.
So the one that we're on right now.
Yes, Metal Gear Solid 1.
I would just play through them in the order they were released. They all make sense that way, and it messes with your mind more if you do it that way.
And so I kind of like that, but I'm more of a story-driven person when it comes to these, and I like to see the progression of it. So when I did it, I actually found it to be super enjoyable to play through it canonically. And if that's what you're interested in, is in like understanding the story, I would highly recommend going through it in the order of the story, just because you're going to see the progression of things as they move on. But then again, like Dan said, or Oliver said, that it's really cool how you can watch this shit tie together as you go through the games. And it's like, oh, now I'm back here, so I understand who this person is, but now I get to see where they came from. So I think either way you decide to do it, you're going to get enjoyment out of it. But I just happened to do it canonically and absolutely loved it.
Can't you get all of them on PS3 as well in the Ultimate Collection now? Like, literally has all of them on.
Yes.
They have the Ultimate Collection?
Yeah.
It's the Legacy Collection.
Legacy Collection. Yeah, it's even got the Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 on, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I know what I'm going to be buying this week.
It's great. It's awesome. Jess, something to take note of, though, and I touched on it, is the control scheme for, like, one especially. 2 is still bad. 3 kind of gets better. But, like, if you can, like, slog through it, because it's not intuitive in the least. Like, you will play it, and you'll be like, why did they do it like this?
For which one?
Oh, okay.
For 1 and 2.
Well, those games kind of came about due to the technical limitations of the MSX because it wasn't initially meant to be a stealth game. It's just they couldn't have X amount of characters on the screen with the bullets at the same time.
I'm sorry. When I mentioned 1 and 2, I mean in the Solid series.
Sorry.
Yeah. Because, like, even going further back, like, I don't recommend people playing the original Nintendo ones.
They're pretty bad.
They have their story to them, but I feel like it just wouldn't. I don't think it really flies.
It's nothing you can't just go online and read.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Legacy Collection does not have the portable ops on it.
No, portable ops. Even though it is canon, it's not, like, especially canon.
I was actually going to say...
there's nothing that really happens in it that really moves anything forward.
I was going to say, regarding Peace Walker, which is one of my favorites, do not play it on the PSP. It's very hard to control.
Oh, yeah. Like, Peace Walker on the PlayStation console...
Awesome.
Is great.
It is.
Yeah, it's very awesome.
It is. And I think that's one of the main reasons I'm so looking forward to Phantom Pain is because it is going to be a lot like Peace Walker. It's going to take place in that same era. I hope they have that whole building your base, recruiting people, building your army. It's just going to be it's going to be good.
Oliver, you know the Legacy Collection is the versions for 2 and 3. Is it Substance and Subsistence, or is it the standard versions?
I know that the Metal Gear 3 is the Subsistence version, because it does include, like, those throwback games. I'm not certain about 2, though. Like, was there anything different between Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear Subsistence?
Loads. It's like basically an entire different game. It's got, like, different pitches in it and stuff like that. But it has an entire package of VR missions. It's basically Metal Gear Solid VR missions, but Metal Gear Solid 2.
But the core Metal Gear Solid 2 is still the same. It doesn't add any.
It's pretty much the same, with there's some slight tweaks, but it's much.
Because I was never able to track down a copy.
The version in Europe also come with a skateboarding game in it where you could play a Solid Snake.
Yeah,
and it was fantastic. But the VR missions on that one were fantastic. It was so good. I might dig it out with my collection actually.
Do you actually have the disc of it?
I do.
I have the disc of 3 Subsistence, but not 2.
I didn't buy Subsistence because it didn't come with VR missions, so I was like, nah.
So I want to go back to Jess for a second because she's super intrigued about this, and now that we've kind of explained how she should play this, what questions might you as a newcomer to this series want to have answered?
Huh.
Nothing? We got it all? We covered it 100%.
I think you've covered it all.
She's set.
Good.
I think I'm information overload right now as well, a little bit.
So
it's a lot to take it.
That's definitely what happens when like I talk about this game. Like I will talk about it and try to stick to the main points, but eventually I will, like, fly off on some sort of tangent about this or that, and then people then just it starts to get, like, really, really confusing.
And you start to see what this whole franchise looks like. But for her sake, can you... I'm putting you on the spot here, but can you kind of sum up the overarching story of Metal Gear Solid? Like, the main players, what's going on, some of the twists.
Good luck, Oliver.
Okay, Jess. So, what it originally is about is, like, nuclear threat.
And that really plays into the whole Metal Gear Solid 3 and Peace Walker with deterrence, like who has more nuclear weapons and.
Well, Metal Gear itself, they are like bipedal tanks which are armed to fire nukes. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Not originally, because Emmerich didn't design them to fire nukes. They've been modified to fire nukes.
See, we've gone off on a tangent already.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly
Anyway,
what
back
happens.
to Oliver. Take it away.
Oh, dear. To not confuse it too much, like, at its core, it's just a lone hero going in to stop a nuclear threat. In the course of Metal Gear Solid 1, it unfolds that, like, it just goes really deep in that you start to discover, okay, well,
No, it's not going to happen,
I
is it?
feel like there's
No,
like a
it
lot of,
will.
like,
I just kind of need to.
politically backstabbing and very like
But you have to understand who Foxhound
Yeah.
is.
intense plot.
Fox
Basically,
Because that's-
Solid Snake has an evil brother,
twin
and
clone.
then he's got another evil brother, and then there's immortal vampires.
But then like one evil brother becomes not evil brother.
They were both
or
cloned
something.
from Big Boss.
Yeah.
One of them is bad, one of them is good. And
Yeah.
one of them starts, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Oliver, one of them, the bad one, starts Foxhound. Right?
Okay.
Doesn't really start it. Like it's a unit in the military,
Special,
the U.S.
yeah,
military.
special ops unit where you get all these freaks
Yeah.
like Psycho Mantis and Sniper Wolf and what's the tank guy's name? Raven.
Vulcan
Vulcan
Raven.
And the dude in the big freezer and Liquid Snake.
That's fucking Raven.
Oh, that's right. You fight him twice.
But then there is no like benefit of going into this game guns blazing.
No,
I do.
No.
I'm not
it's
surprised.
tough though.
The first one, you can, because it's a lot easier than the
Yeah.
others.
It's very easy to get away from people in this game. You just go hide for 30 seconds and you're done.
But in the second one and stuff, you can hide in lockers and stuff, and they will look for you in the locker and stuff like that. So, but if you get to then when you play Ground Zeroes, it's an even higher level of them like trying to
Yeah.
find you and stuff like that. Just that game was just crazy. The graphics on it fantastic. It's just what's going on. It's so good.
I think we lost sight of the story.
We did. It's too. It's
just-
considering how long it's been going on. It's too hard to condense. You need to play it to understand it, I think.
And even still, there's a very slim chance you're going to understand it.
Well, the draw of this game was that it was very cinematic in nature, and
Which was really cool.
yeah, which was really cool. I mean, every game does it now, but back then, like, this was the very first game to do it. So when they showed trailers, when they showed commercials or whatever, you saw, like, wow, this is kind of like an action movie or
But I
whatever.
still don't think other games do it as intense as these guys
No.
do.
No, definitely not. So you just kind of have to put your mindset back in like 97, 98, where you were either playing, I don't know, I don't even know what games were around back then, like Crash
yeah.
Bandicoot maybe.
Mario Kart.
Mario
Platformers
Kart.
were a lot more popular.
Twisted Metal was around too.
People weren't
But
really
then-
playing action games for story. They were playing RPGs for story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, RPG. Yeah. I guess JRPGs were pretty prolific back then too, and yeah, those games were very much so story driven.
Final
But
Fantasy VII came out the same year.
They did it in a way. Yeah, it did, didn't it?
This came out a few months earlier.
Tomb Raider 2.
Oh, and that storyline was awesome.
Tomb Raider 2.
It had a dragon.
Yes.
What was I about to say? So, like, yeah, JRPGs were very story driven, but they did it in a way where it was a text you had to read,
Yeah.
like text bubbles, and like kind of just sort of watch it happen. Like the cutscenes weren't voiced or anything, and yeah, all the dialogue was in text. This game came out and it was voice acted. It was like choreographed, and you hadn't seen anything like it. So the draw there was like, yeah, this is a very like well well developed and well produced game that rivaled, like, it tried to rival like the cinematography of most movies back then.
Yeah.
So that was the draw to it, and like it had a cool main character, had a great set of like bad guys that you could totally like
hate on, but you still like them.
Yeah, and it did a lot of things differently, like even the stealth aspect. Not many games were doing it back then. Like Tenchu, you mentioned, Eric. Was Splinter Cell around back then? Maybe like after.
Still the same era.
Sure. But yeah, this stealth aspect where you're actively avoiding confrontation and you're not just
Splinter
shooting
Cell
things.
Siphon Filter.
Siphon Filter, yes.
I think the main draw of it, though, for me, was that you developed this personal relationship with Snake because you understand he was just thrown into this, and like you're figuring things out as he's figuring things out too. And I noticed this more this playthrough, but Snake repeats questions a lot. Like somebody will say something and he'll just be like, nuclear missiles, and like just all the time he's asking questions. So you really understand, like, he has no fucking clue what's going on either. And that's what's so cool, is that he understands how crazy this is too, because he shows up on this base thinking, okay, I just have to go get Kenneth Baker and the DARPA chief. Oh, they both died of heart attacks. What the hell happened here? And like he has no idea, and he knows that people are withholding information, and you even learn that Roy Campbell doesn't have all of the information as well. And I don't remember who calls him out on it, and it's like, you're running this mission and you don't even have all the information. And you get further into it, and just things are released in such a great pace. You don't have plot dumps in this game and then long stretches of where nothing happens. It's so well paced that you're never bored.
Yeah. And it sort of feeds into the base of Solid Snake's character, where he is like just a soldier and he does what he's told, and by extension, like, we are just gamers and we're kind of just doing what we're told. And yet, like, I think it's one of the bad guys that sort of start to question like Solid Snake's knowledge and even his like commander's knowledge of what's really going on. And that sort of speaks to us as gamers, like, yeah, you know what? We are just kind of being just told what to do. Like, what is really going on? And that forces you to sort of think on a different level, like, what's happening in this world. Because it doesn't do it too much in this one, but in the second one, it really launches into some themes about, like, political conspiracy and, like, string pulling.
Look at you waxing all philosophical over Metal Gear.
I know, we're getting deep.
This guy.
Come on, you guys. You invited me on for a reason.
This is why we had you on.
It's sort of tough. Going back to the question about which Metal Gear people should start on, I always say start at 1. No, you know what? I always say play a modern one, such as 4, Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, and eventually the Phantom Pain. But if any of it speaks to you, like, go back and play from the beginning, and you will get a grand picture of everything that's going on, and you'll fall down that rabbit hole. That's exactly what happened with Matt.
That's what happened with me.
I told Matt to play Metal Gear Solid 4, and he just fell in love with it.
So he'd never played any of them before that?
No, he hadn't.
Wow.
He's young, so like he grew up on like Halo.
Oh,
and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Because before we had really started talking about it on MTP, I'd never played 3 or Peace Walker or Portable Ops or any of the earlier ones. Really? So that's why I decided to go back and start with those. And I think this is one of those franchises that it's worth playing every game in the franchise. I can sit and look at Final Fantasy games and be like, you could probably get away with not playing that one. That one's kind of dumb. You can definitely avoid these 3. This game, or this series, every single one of them is worth playing because it drops another piece of the puzzle into place.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. I think if this were a 100% newcomer to the series, start with Metal Gear Solid. because it gives you an idea of like, okay, this is how this game plays. They introduce a lot of the concepts. Some of the later games, they don't explain that as well.
That's not really what I mentioned. I mentioned try out a modern one, just for the fact that like the controls will be a lot easier to pick up.
I didn't think these ones were too bad. It was a little clunky.
Eric, are you sure? Because this game is terrible with controls. Like I have enough self-awareness like that not everything is rainbows and sunshine in Metal Gear, like, and in particular the controls. I feel like the controls would turn off people like in an instant.
If you play it with the analog stick, it's not that bad.
Sure,
but you're right with shooting. Like if you want to shoot someone in the distance, fortunately they kind of auto lock on. But if you're playing a stealth game and you want to go through and try to be sneaky, you're not going to be shooting many people.
No, but like
you kind of have to at some point.
Players will be like. I feel like they'll sort of feel natural about trying to shoot people. And once they get it in their head that, you know what, sneaking around is probably the better option. But I feel like having to shoot people...
I think that could be kind of a double-edged sword, though, because if you tell them, hey, pick up Ground Zeroes or pick up Metal Gear Solid 4, and they're like, I like this, and then they try to go back to play some of the older games, like, this game controls like garbage, I'm not going to play this.
Yeah, and that's why you have to have the caveat, like, listen, if you started Ground Zeroes or Metal Gear 4, like... just know that if you want to go back into like 1 and 2, like the controls are gonna be junky. So just be prepared over that for that.
I don't think 2's too bad, mind. I thought
2
was all right.
blew my mind when you could aim down the sights because we really hadn't had many games like that.
Yeah.
And
but even that, you were kind of like crab clawing the controller, right? Because you had to like draw your weapon, you had to go into first person mode with like one trigger
and then
or
shoot
whatever,
with another.
and then like. Yeah, and then you have to shoot with another face button.
But then they had the pressure
Did you
sensitivity.
just hold R1 in square and then release square?
Is that all you had to do?
I thought it was 3 buttons.
No, it was your standard movement in first-person view, square, release square to shoot, hold square again, and then just release it all to start moving again?
No, but we're talking about when you aim down sight. When you pull up your gun.
That is when you aim down sight with your first-person view.
Yeah, and then even when you aim down sights, you can use like the shoulder buttons to lean or like stand on your tippy toes or something in case you're undercover.
Yeah.
Holy jeez, they were terrible.
They were pretty rough, but it was still good. I mean, the series progresses so much.
Yeah. I suggest my personal opinion is start with 4 or Ground Zeroes even, Jess, would be a good place to start for you because they drop enough information to kind of like whet your appetite about what's going on.
Jess, how far did you get into this one?
Not very far. I was also playing 4 a little bit too, though.
No, you shouldn't play them next to each other. That'll get really confusing.
It was a little bit. Whatever.
Did you at least make it to the official title screen? Where you're going up the elevator?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's a good scene.
It is.
Because that's when because there's very little gameplay in that first part where you're kind of sneaking in that loading bay around the I think there are 2 soldiers or whatever.
And then the third one comes down.
But they show off enough, like you can lean up against this box to look down the aisle, and if you run over this puddle, like you'll leave footsteps.
You
and,
can
like,
knock
even,
on the wall to attract them. I just think that to me that was so cool.
Yeah. They introduced that type of stuff, but then once you get through it, like you can totally easily run through it if you know what you're doing. And then you go up the elevator, and he's like sort of stripping off his scuba gear. And I don't know if they're talking about anything, but like that's when you know like this game is gonna be like this game is on a different scale than any other game.
It's not just press start, let's go.
Yeah.
So.
Man, what a good game.
It is. If you could afford to start with Twin Snakes, I would recommend it. The only thing that threw me off was you can definitely tell there's a lot of Matrix-inspired stuff going on there, like snakes doing backflips off missiles and
Yeah.
The hind scene, they fire a missile at him, and he runs along he jumps and runs along the top of it and does a backflip off of it, and it's a little over the top, but they redid all the voice acting, right, Oliver?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, because when we were talking to David Hayter on MTP, he was saying that the sound card on the GameCube was so advanced that it picked up background noise and traffic from the apartment that they recorded the original audio in.
I remember that.
Crazy. So they had to get everybody back in and read it. So they basically remade the game from scratch, 100%.
I think they also got a different voice actor for one of the characters, the Mei Ling character.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's kind of super Asian in this one and not so in the next one.
So let me ask you one more question to kind of wrap up the Metal Gear stuff here. With regard to voice acting, David Hayter has he was pretty much one of the first video game voice acting celebrities because of this role. He was the first person that I ever knew who they were. I mean, there were voice acted games. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who the voice actor for Titus was in Final Fantasy X, and that was a defining game in terms of voice acting. But David Hayter solidified himself as Solid Snake, and he's just been he has been alongside Kojima the face of this game for the past 15 years. So when they announced that Kiefer Sutherland was going to be taking over the role of Snake in Phantom Pain, people were understandably quite upset. However, we've talked quite a bit at length about whether or not that's going to be the case in the end. Do you think there's going to be any sort of big reveal where David Hayter's actually going to come in? Like the Snake from this might be an alternate one, and then we may be bouncing back and forth between the two? Or do you think that there really is no David Hayter in this game?
I feel like David Hayter's in this game, and I feel like he's going to be Solid Snake. And I feel, and you can quote me on this, and you can tell me I'm wrong when I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, that... So just something you got to know if you do choose to play these games, sit through the credits, because after the credits there's always some sort of like weird stinger moment.
Oh, okay.
Where just kind of like the Marvel movies, there'll be just a small conversation that will kind of drop a hint as to what the next game is going to be. So I feel at the end of Phantom Pain, it's going to be the very first conversation from the original Nintendo Metal Gear games, where Big Boss, what's the mission in Metal Gear? Are
you talking about the MSX version?
Yeah, the MSX Nintendo versions. Anyways, the first line of dialogue there is like Big Boss contacting this rookie recruit that's that they've sent in to investigate some sort of nuclear threat, and it's like, Lieutenant Solid Snake, are you ready for this mission? And then it's gonna, I think it's gonna be David Hayter playing Solid Snake, being like, this is Solid Snake, and then just closing the loop on the whole Metal Gear thing, like that conversation. I feel is gonna be like the very first conversation in the Metal Gear game.
It seems like they've changed the voice actor as a way to differentiate between Big Boss and older Snake, because for the first time, potentially, they're going to be in it together.
David Hayter he was Big Boss in 3.
3, yeah.
He was, but I think with this one, because this might have Solid Snake and Big Boss in it, both have the same voice, it's going to be really confusing.
So, Oliver, you were saying that after the credits in Phantom Pain, you think it's going to be that first conversation from the MSX original Metal Gear.
Yes.
I could see that, because this
I think you're going to find out about Les Enfants Terribles, like the whole project thing's going to be ongoing, like while he's been in the coma. And
but Solid Snake and Liquid are a branch off; they're a clone off of Big Boss. So this game could obviously, go off into the Les Enfants Terribles, but it could also touch on the storyline of like how Solid and Liquid are created, and it could close the loop, because he needs to close the loop. If this is going to be the last game, he needs to close it.
Well, he's mentioned that before too, like this will close the loop on the whole Metal Gear thing, and I feel like as like just a fanatical like enthusiast of this game, I feel like that would be the perfect way to close the loop. And that also would be the perfect way to justify David Hayter not being Big Boss's voice. And it would just be such an awesome way to have that very last sticker.
And then Kojima could go out, and if he really isn't going to do anymore, he could just be like, I'm done, guys. I closed it off. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah. Although it would be incredible for them to recreate the original Metal Gears in the Fox engine.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's possible because I think the Fox engine is Hideo's thing.
Yes. Yeah, is it?
So
yeah,
I think so.
You can create a spin-off with a slightly different name. Just don't call it Metal Gear. Just
like Mighty
Titanium
Number 9,
Cog.
Yes.
The only thing that really makes me think that David Hayter's in this is because when he released that he was not the voice, it was April 1st. That's the biggest thing that Kojima's known for pulling some crazy ass stunts. I mean, for God's sakes, he created an entire development studio to show off this Moby Dick game or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
The dude's known for going
crazy.
over the top. And I could honestly see him pulling something like this where he convinces everybody, and even getting Kiefer Sutherland in on it, like, dude, we need to do this. Let's pull the wool over these people's eyes here, and just boom, David Hayter's actually in it. Because you know how much hype that would drive up for the game? Because, I mean, like, I'm not disinterested because of it, but I'm a little less interested because it's not David Hayter, for the reasons I said before.
But do you think that risks their sales, or do you think that people are just so dedicated to the series that they would play
I think they're going to buy it either way, but could you imagine, like, if they learned just before the game came out or when the game comes, like, it actually is David Hayter? Imagine the hype that would generate for it.
Yeah.
I would prefer it if they didn't announce it until it come out.
Yeah, you pop it in and you're like, wait a minute, that's David Hayter. I would lose my mind. I would.
Well, see, there's a character that's been on a couple of the trailers people think might be Liquid Snake as a child. So it could happen. We'll
that
see.
Eli kid in the trailers. I think he's like some sort of African war child soldier. There's a lot of theory behind it. It's
oh man,
kid Liquid Snake.
Yeah, we could go on for hours.
We really could.
So I think,
but then I would feel asleep. See what I did there?
That's best gaming translation error. Anything else you guys want to add before we move on to some emails and wrap up? Oliver's expertise is always knows bounds.
Jess, if you do eventually play these games, keep me posted on how you feel about them, because like I'm always interested in hearing about like people's experience with Metal Gear. Like I love hearing that people are like just going like balls deep into it.
I think Jess would have a hard time going balls
Totally
deep.
will.
Yeah, well, it's metaphor.
Oh, you mean I shouldn't be?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
you really shouldn't be.
Too late.
That's awkward.
Yeah.
No, I will, for sure.
If you want to send us an email, factorysealed@manatank.com, we actually have a couple this week. We got one from Jay Jorgensen titled Yes. Said, I finished up your series on Final Fantasy VIII and may give it another go. Most importantly, I'm super pumped that you're going to cover Legend of Dragoon next. I bought a PS1 just because of this game, but nobody else knows about it. Game and story are overall superb, but it does have a few issues. Magic being limited, inventory dragon mode, blah, blah, blah. This game is awesome. Can't wait for you guys to play it. So that's more in reference to our...
Oh, he doesn't have a question.
No,
Cool.
he just has an email supporting us. We got one here from Matt. No last name.
Eads?
I don't think Matt would be this nice. Says, just wanted to drop by and tell you guys how much I love the podcast and the new website. I've been listening to the show for quite some time now, and I'm loving the new weekly format. It's much improved over the random show here and there that Aaron would show up late to or leave early from. Well, we hear nothing but his dog barking for the brief time he was on. Oh, I love Aaron. Also, I gotta say, I really like this Dan bloke, wherever you found his limey ass.
He was a founding member,
of
wasn't he?
Manatank, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah, no.
Yeah, we didn't just pick
I was
him
never
up
on
out of
the. I was
nowhere.
never on the podcast though, so I just work behind the scenes.
Oh, I see.
In all
I got none. I got none of the glory.
In all seriousness, though, you guys are great, and I just love listening to you talk. Of course, couldn't write you without demanding you play a couple of my favorite Genesis games, which also happen to be a couple of the best games on the Mega Drive. Wonder Boy in Monster World and Shining Force are two unbelievable retro games that hold up well, and I'm certain you'll enjoy them. Take care, love the show, Matt. And he actually sent that using our email form on our website, so if you don't want to send it to us from your personal website or your personal email, just pop on to factory-sealed.com. Got a form you can send us an email from. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. You're my new favorite person.
One final thing, we did finally get approved. We are now on Stitcher. I know that a lot of people have been asking us about that, and Dan pushed me through to finally get that done. The approval process went through on that. We are now on there. Our new feeds and everything should be updated for the final time. I know we went through a couple feed updates, but everything should be done now. If you would, we still would love it if you'd leave us an iTunes rating. We haven't had any in a while, but if you like our show, pop on over, give us a positive rating, or just leave your thoughts. Next week, I believe I'm going to set this up for either next week or the week after. We're going to have another special guest. I don't think... He is... his name is Mark Polidorus. He is also known as 8-Bit Baby. I think I've talked about him a few times before, but he goes through and takes famous video game songs and turns them into lullabies. And Ellie listened to, when she was really little, when she'd go to sleep, she would listen to the Mega Man lullabies. So we're going to have him on, talk about some Mega Man 2. I'm assuming I'm going to verify that for next week, so potentially Mega Man 2 show next week. That's that. We're going to start our Legend of Dragoon. First episode will be the 16th of June, Disc 1, with Kevin and Derek.
We should have a new Factory Sealed Read Lives on the site this week as well, because we played True Lies yesterday, didn't we?
Sweet Jesus. We'll save that for next show. Yes. Keep an eye out for that. But until then, Dan, where can we find you on the Twitter?
Frosted Sloth.
Jess.
I am a Jess.
Oliver, where can we find you this week?
OJ_A_. That's me on Twitter.
Right, good luck remembering that one.
Yeah, whatever. Listen to me on Talking Reckless. It's affiliate podcast.
Used to be Manatank podcast. We all branched off, still doing the same thing.
It's my main. But hey, thank you so much for having me on, you guys. This was really
Absolutely.
fun.
Anytime, man.
No, it's been great. Thanks.
You're welcome anytime. Any other games you decide you want to play, let us know. We'll play them.
I don't get around to playing many. Like, do you guys? We talked about. There were some news stories last week about the creator of Symphony of the Night doing a crowdfunded.
I saw that.
Sequel to Symphony of the Night, which is one of my absolute favorite games. Have you? Any of you played that game?
We did a show on it with you.
Did we do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember. When was that? Was a long time ago, then, wasn't it? Because I don't
really
remember.
Long time ago.
Oh, I guess no.
Was
It
that
used
like
to be like a
beginning?
year break in between shows, so it's understandable.
Okay, well, listen to that one then, because I have a lot to say.
It was a good show. It was episode 18 back from May 17th, 2013.
Jeez.
Yeah,
shit.
2 years ago. We were all younger and dumber.
Other than that, like, I don't really play any other like retro games that like I'd really want to like crack open.
Well,
and
if we
play
do
again.
any other Metal Gear games, we'll definitely have you on.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
you can find me at Honest Pizza. We are building up our Factory Sealed Twitter, which is Factory_Sealed, because some dude with one follower is squatting on at Factory Sealed. So bombard him with.
I feel like Twitter needs to figure that shit out. Like, kick people off.
If you're a squatter, get rid of it. That's going to do it for this week. We will be back next Sunday, guaranteed, because we are doing this weekly come hell or high water. So until next week, toodle pip. Right, Dan?
Pip pip.
What?
Pip pip.
That's
pip,
Dan's
pip.
sign off. Toodle pip.
Toodle pip.